And here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dale Quigley, of course, your host of this brand new series called Seeking Vibes. And I am more excited than I could ever been in a lifetime. I'm telling you, this is a dream come true, this project right here. This is something ever since I started the Paranormal Voice with my good friend Michael John. I uh, I just thought, what more could I do in this world? And I mean, my whole life has been nothing but uh, ups and downs, motivation, and overcoming challenges all my life. And the stories that I've heard along the way have been nothing but spectacular, empowering, and with the world as we know it right now in shambles, people going absolutely bonkers. I tell you that now is the time more than ever that we need to all come together and to be with each other. You lift each other up, give each other hugs, show each other love. But I'll tell you this little project myself, like I said, it's been a dream come true, and I am so blessed and fortunate to be able to bring you such a show. And I hope anything that we do on this show will resonate with each and every one of you. We are going to talk about a whole lot of things right now. But before I bring out my guest right now, I'll tell you, you know what? Each and every day, I talk about things that are inspiring to me. And one of the most inspiring things, and for a lot of people that do know me, music has been the biggest inspirational of my life. I Music has helped me through every emotion I've ever been through. And I sometimes say, when life is good, you enjoy the music, but when you're down and out, you understand the lyrics. And each and every episode, I am going to bring you just a little tidbit of each song that I think is truly inspirational, and I love the artists that are behind these songs. The song that I'm going to talk about, like the lyrics I'm going to talk about today, is from one of my favorite bands called Papa Roach, and they just debuted a song not too long ago. It was called "Leave the Lights On." For those that have never heard it, I suggest go over to your Spotify, download it, listen to it. But the lyrics in itself are so powering. I'll just read you just a little bit of it. It says, dry bones rattle in a lonely soul, slipped and fell into a deep black hole. I can tell you're lost. I am here for you. Wildfires are burning you down to stone. Blind eyed turn from a world so cold. A million miles apart within my reach. It's not like me to worry, but when I see you fade into the dark, I'll leave the light on for you. Through the long nights, and I will be right there for you if you drift too far, but I'll leave a light on for you. And that is more true when you read such lyrics and understand those, because people that are struggling in life, they always feel alone. And I know I've been there. And I like to tell everybody out there that you're not alone. Somebody out there will always have their door on. And I am one of those people. So, hey, if you follow me on any of my social medias, never hesitate. Just reach out, and I'll be more than happy to listen to you, let you vent, talk about whatever it is, and just let it get out, because you're not alone in this world. So, with that, right now, I would like to introduce my debut guest, uh, an absolute sweetheart of a woman. It's been just about 3 or 4 years since I met her. We met up at the MI Paracon. The first year, Michael, John, and myself were able to debut the Paranormal Voice there, and we met her and her amazing husband, and just to get to know her and to read her books and to see the journey she has been on, it is truly amazing. So, right now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome my debut guest, the lovely Miss MJ Dickson.
Hello.
Hello, and how are you all the way from the UK on the other side of the pond? I'll tell you, it is so good to see you. We live miles apart, but yet, I feel close to you every day. Every time I turn on social media, I always watch what you're doing. Like,
Likewise.
girl, you do not stop.
No, sir.
Uh, um, but as everybody who knows MJ Dickson is one of the most top talented paranormal talent in existence. Like I said,
You're too
she
kind.
she is, I mean, there is nothing this woman has not done in the paranormal field. And this has been your whole life. But today we are going to wipe that and put that kind of on the back burner
Hmm.
because today is about your inspirational story, a story that I just come to know just probably in this last year. And I mean, you hear about it, but at the same time, you really don't understand. For those that you don't know, and I mean, we've all affected by it one way or another. We all know somebody in our families, our friends, somebody in our circle has been given that nasty C word, which is cancer. And
Yep.
that's exactly where we are going down in this first episode right now. Uh, with
Yeah.
me, myself,
It's
uh,
emotional. I'm like, oh, we haven't even started yet.
we haven't even started yet, and it's already emotional.
Oh my
But
gosh.
for us, for anybody really, like I said, I lost my dad to cancer nearly 20 years ago. Uh, it was a really downfall for me, and then I met MJ here, and once I heard her story, I was like, wow, like. So those that don't know, I'm gonna let MJ tell her story so that we can get this out. But thank you once again for being here. Thank you for sharing this inspirational story.
Thank you for
So
having me.
please, when I guess we can start off, like when were you first diagnosed with this, and kind of what type of cancer was it? And I know what they said to you, and I'm so glad that you, like
I'm
most
still
people
here.
do, just let it take over. So please, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I've never really spoken in depth about this on a podcast or anything. It took a really long time for me to write that story as well. I want to touch on something before we get into the cancer story. Your music thing that you were talking about and the lyrics. You know, I connect to that so much. I'm a musician, so
Yes,
you know,
yes.
I play guitar and sing and a little bit of stuff here and there. Not that anyone needs to hear it. That's usually just in the
No, I mean,
at home.
but this is a part of your amazing story, not just the fact that you are talented in the paranormal field, not that you're not only a cancer survivor, but I
Music
mean,
was a
like
very
I
big
said,
healing
you
part
are
of for me
so talented when a
over
musician,
time.
I mean, an author, musician,
I don't
like
get
I,
bored, put it that way.
you know what, but that's inspirational though. That shows just how driven of a person you are. I mean, I mean, for anybody who has read
I've
your
done a lot.
books, truly knows the story, and we will talk about those books a little bit later on. But yeah, I mean,
There
you
is,
of all people that truly do understand the lyrics of a song and what
yeah,
and how they affect people.
yeah,
They're
100%.
just, I mean, I worked with a couple of bands myself. And truly, and you see people that come up to musicians all the time and say
Mhm.
what their lyrics did for them in a
I
moment
used
that they
to,
felt like
yeah,
down and out.
yeah,
And that's just what music does. And music's done that for me all my life.
mhm.
Music has been the one thing that I've always been able to turn to.
Me
And it
too.
just seems like, and I think this is the universe talking is that when you're feeling down and you turn on the radio, it just happens the right song happens to be
Yeah,
on at that moment, and you're just like, is that the universe talking to me?
I do
Because
that all the time.
how
Don't worry.
coincidental is this? But that's all synchronicities, and
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing. But I mean, yeah, a musician. So okay, before we get into the cancer story, I do want to talk about the beginnings of what made you get into music.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, there is a quote by Aldous Huxley, and it says, "After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music." And it's always been one of my favorite quotes. So I grew up in a very musical family. My dad was a drummer. I grew up playing piano from a very young age. I think I was about 6 or 7 years old when I started playing piano. I then decided that I wanted to be a rock star. I think I was about 13, and I was like, all right, I'm done with piano. I want to be this hardcore rock star. And so I traded piano for guitar, and I started playing in bands and things when I was really young. I played in my dad's band. We used to have a jam session every week, every Tuesday night. So Wednesdays at school, I was always exhausted because we played till like 3, 4 in the morning, and I had to be at school at like 8 in the morning. So I grew up with music around me all the time, and my parents always thought that that was going to be my career path. They thought I would grow up to be some big superstar. And then I don't know, I played in a couple of bands right up until my 20s, and I remember being on stage. I used to write my own music as well. And I remember being on stage, and it was the very first time that I played one of my songs, and I looked out into the crowd and people were singing along, and it broke me. Like, it completely broke me. And then having people come up to you, as you said, and say, your song meant so much, or it really resonated with me, or I connected with that. And yeah, I was offered my last record deal when I was 20, and I turned 2 down because I didn't want to be in the music industry. I didn't like the ugliness of, we're going to take you and mold
Right.
you, and we're going to style
Yeah.
you, and we're going to make you look like this and this and this, and you're going to
Right.
sound like this. And the deal was something like 20% my own music and my own inputs, and 80% what they would give me to sing. And I was just like, I can't do that.
Right.
Anyone that knows me will tell you that I don't take orders lightly. You don't tell me what to do. I've always been a nonconformist, like a rebel. So I didn't feel comfortable with that.
Right.
And then I started traveling, and then I started investigating, and the paranormal took over music. So yeah.
But you know what? And to touch a little bit about that, I mean, yeah, back in the day, yeah, that's how it was. The record industry
Yeah.
basically
Mm,
owned everything that the artist put their heart and soul into.
yeah.
And I never thought that was right, you know? And
Me
I'm
neither.
so glad that the music industry today has made it so much easier for up and coming artists
It
that
really
really
is.
you
But
don't need a
social
record
media can
label
make them.
anymore to do it.
Yeah. 100%.
Excuse me.
You've got social media, you've got YouTube, you've got TikTok, you've got all of this. And I mean, I've seen people, musicians, start out on TikTok, and
Right.
now they're huge. They're touring, and they've done that themselves, and they should be so proud. But I wanted to talk about the music side, because music was a huge, huge part of getting me through cancer. And there is a song that I still listen to whenever I'm having a really bad day. Usually it's like hardcore metal. I'm a metalhead. And well,
And that's why we get along so well. I mean, I hope to one day to be able to get down there and to
come to a
enjoy
rock
a festival
festival.
with you and Duncan,
Yes, do it. I'd
because
love
we love the same music.
that. But there is a song by Stained. Aaron Lewis wrote a song called "So Far Away,"
Love
and
that song.
the lyrics are so meaningful to me, because every time I feel like, I'm not getting to where I want to be in life, or whatever struggle I was facing, I would listen to that song, and it would kind of be the pick me up that I needed. Like, look at what you've overcome. Look at what you have accomplished. and it would always just give me the boost that I needed to kind of carry on. So that's a very big part of music for me, is, you know, that inspirational side of giving you the guts to face things and carry on. But
Yeah, I mean, no, absolutely. And like I said, Stain is one of those bands. Yeah, a lot of their lyrics. I mean, I can't think of the lead singer's name.
Aaron Lewis.
Aaron Lewis. Yes, I'm kind of
Mhm.
hoping he's playing at the Kuwaitan Casino in December.
So, okay, this was a huge moment for me. The first time I was invited to speak at Michigan Paracon, I was standing on the stage, and I was, when everything was empty, like the whole lecture hall was empty. They were still setting up, and I was stood on the stage looking at the rows and rows and rows of seats. And I hit panic mode. I was like, oh my God, I can't talk in front of a crowd that size. Like, what am I doing here? I'm freaking out. Another reason I didn't become a musician. Horrible stage fright. Horrible. And so I was stood there having this absolute meltdown, and then noticed the poster that was advertising Aaron Lewis playing on that very stage like a week after my talk.
Right.
And I was stood there like, oh my word. Like, that is incredible. And it was just like this little sign to me, like, hey, you got
Yeah.
this.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was really cool. But like, I just about had an absolute meltdown on the stage. But I want to, before we get into the cancer side as well, I just wanted to say, you will notice that I am really upbeat about what I went through, and a lot of my way of coping with stuff is really dark humor. So I apologize in advance if all the dark humor starts slipping out during this.
But no, I mean, us as individuals, we all deal with life's stresses in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Most people like to crawl up in a little ball and forget that the world even exists.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been known to laugh at a funeral because it's just the way stress is. Because I mean,
I
it's
am
usually
that
because I'm watching the shadows all dance around the funeral home too, and I'm going, I wish people could see what I see sometimes.
right.
But
Well, you know, this is something that you never think you're going to hear.
right,
You never think that you're going to be the one hearing the words, "You've got cancer,"
right,
and yeah, I dealt with it with really dark humor and try to keep things upbeat. And so let's go back to the beginning. So I was doing a fine art photography modeling shoot. Yes, I modeled as well. And during the photo shoot, they were trying to get me to lie in a certain position and arch my back in a certain way. And as they do with all models, they were telling you which way to lie and blah, blah, blah. And I was trying to bend and arch my back in a certain way, and I couldn't. I was in absolute agony. And I thought, you know, maybe I've lifted something heavy. Maybe I just pulled a muscle, or I've just got really bad back pain, or whatever the case is. So I eventually like got through the shoot, and I was managing a restaurant at the time with Duncan. And so I got back to work, and the whole 14-hour shift on my feet, I was just in the worst back pain, just excruciating. And I'd occasionally just run back into the kitchen and sort of bend over and stretch out my spine, because then it kind of relieved that pain a bit.
right.
And at the end of the night, I went to Duncan and I was like, man, something's really wrong. You know, maybe when I was moving barrels in the beer barrels in the cellar, or, you know, maybe when I was picked up a chair or something, I probably slipped a disc or something. This is going to sound really weird. Way back when, I used to do kickboxing as well. And so I slipped 3 discs in my spine when I was kickboxing years ago. So I know what that felt like.
Right.
And so I was like, man, this feels like a slipped disc again. And I said to Duncan, listen, take me off the shift list for tomorrow in the restaurant. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. Like, I need to check this out. I went through to the emergency room because at this point I could barely breathe. I was in so much pain. They called me in after a really long wait, and the doctor said to me, So what's the problem? And I said to him, well, I think I've slipped a disc, if not more, in my lower spine. I've done this before. I know the feeling. It feels very similar. Could you please check it out for me? And I need to have my back manipulated back into place and push the discs back into place, physiotherapy. And he looked at me and he was like, well, lay down on the bed. Let's do a few little exercises. Can you lift your feet up and hold them up? And I did, in agony. And he was like, well, seeing as though you can lift your feet, if you'd had slipped discs, you wouldn't be able to do that. You would be screaming in agony.
Right.
And I looked at this doctor and I was like, listen, doc, I have a very, very high pain threshold and a very short temper. So best you do something about this because I'm in pain and I'm really cranky. So I was like, we need to fix this. I'm telling you something is wrong. Excuse me. I've got this horrible cold that I'm getting over. And he basically said to me, you've probably just pulled some muscles in your back. He told me to take 2 paracetamol, go home, excuse me, and, the muscles will sort themselves out, basically. I wasn't having that because I'm stubborn. And I went from there to a private chiropractor, and they did, they did immediate x-rays. They took a look at the x-rays. They sent me straight for an MRI scan, private MRI scan, which cost me a fortune. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it.
Right.
I'm laying there during the MRI and, excuse me one second. This cough is so horrible. I do apologize. So I'm laying there and they had a bunch of students learning how to do MRI scans. And so the doctor was like, do you mind if you lay there an extra 5 minutes and we just teach the students and I can get them to do a few extra scans? And I was like, well, I'm laying here anyway. Knock yourself out. Go ahead. I'm wearing a hospital gown, like, sure. And so the students did a bunch of extra scans. They put them all on a disc and they told me, take that straight back to your chiropractor, etc., which I did. And she took one look at them and she sat me down and she said to me, I don't know how to tell you this, don't freak out, but there's a tumor. So I had ovarian cancer that I had stage 3 ovarian, which started spreading through my lymphatic system and up my spine. So I shouldn't be here. But I had this massive tumor. And she was like, look, it's probably not malignant. It's probably not cancer. Don't freak out. Don't let that be the first thing you think of. It's probably something else. We're just going to have it removed and it'll be fine. You need surgery right now, like as soon as possible. They picked up the tumor in the extra scans that the students had done.
Wow.
So had those students not been there that day learning, and since then, whenever I've been at a hospital where they're like, hey, we have students learning, I'm like, yes, do it. Learn. Do whatever you need to.
I'll be the guinea pig. Go ahead.
I'm all for it. You guys need to learn and I get extra stuff. So we're good. Because essentially it was those students that found it and saved me.
Right.
And, that chiropractor that from Kenilworth Chiropractors out here, she was incredible. She was just so thorough and she listened, which made a world of difference. Right. From there, I got rushed in for surgery. And my surgeon, when I woke up from the anesthetic, and I was just still trying to figure out where the hell I was, and he was like, oh my God, that tumor was so big. He's like, I put it in a bucket. Do you want to see it? And I was like, oh my God, that is disgusting. No, I don't want to see it. So what had happened just from that lower back pain that I kept getting, and I never knew this was a huge, huge sign that it could be ovarian cancer. So ladies who are watching this, if you feel lower back pain that is starting to get more and more intense, do not, under any circumstance, leave it.
Right.
Go and get it checked out, because I never realized that it is one of the signs of ovarian cancer. And I had no idea. Like, I just thought I pulled something or slipped a disc, which I had. The tumor was so big that it crushed all my internal organs, and it pushed, it wasn't pushing out like stomach side, it was pushing against my spine, and it popped the discs out of my spine. It popped 3 discs out of my spine.
I'm in pain just listening to that.
Yeah, it was not pleasant at all.
No, it does definitely. I mean, they say, there's certain things that sound painful, and that sounds extremely when you have something that's pushing
Yeah.
against
I don't wish it on my worst enemies.
your bones in your body.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely.
Wasn't fun.
It's hard to even comprehend that's even possible that the body could withstand.
I didn't know that either.
But you know what? Probably the way I feel is because of your background. Like you said, you were into boxing. You're very muscular. Your body is more defined than somebody that does not take care of their body or into any type of physical sports.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, I just thought it was because of kickboxing and old injuries. And when I was young, I was a skater chick in my teens. So, there were loads of skateboarding mishaps on half pipes. And so, I mean, I really messed my back up. I did motocross, for crying out loud. Enduro racing when I was a kid. And I had motorbike accidents. And so I've broken pretty much almost every bone in my body, because if the boys could do it, I could do it better. So for me to have back pain like that, I was like, well, it was bound to catch up sometime.
Right.
All the crap that I've done in my life.
You were hoping it wouldn't happen until you were in your 80s, but,
No, geez, I was lucky I made it out of my 20s with it. So, with all of that, for me, I was like, well, I'm just going to play it off, until I literally couldn't breathe anymore because of the pain. Yeah. And then I was like, well, whoops, better go to a doctor. But don't leave it that long. Like, even if it's just a intense back pain, you think you've maybe pulled a muscle or something, go and have it checked out, because, the sooner you do, the better for you.
Right.
I mean, I had my first surgery, 6 weeks of recovery, and then I had to go in for another appointment, and this was in November 2015. And February 2016, I was booked to be a paranormal speaker on a paranormal cruise leaving out of New Orleans. And I was so excited for that opportunity, because I'd never been on a cruise. I'd never, this was awesome. This was a paranormal convention on a cruise. Hell yeah. So I was not going to give this up. I was doing everything in my power to get better and just recover. And at this stage, when they removed the tumor, they were like, oh, you're really lucky. We removed everything. We couldn't find any cancerous cells anywhere, but there was cancer, but it was contained within the tumor. It hadn't gotten anywhere else in my body. So they were like, you're super lucky. You shouldn't be here. Within a week, that tumor could have burst and you'd be dead. So the timing of this was impeccable. And they were like, you don't need chemo. You don't need anything. Like, you dodged a bullet. You're fine. And I was just like, right. On with the recovery, Then roll around February, and they pretty much cut me in half, my whole body. So I was stapled together. And they had to kind of staple all my insides back in place, because the tumor had pushed everything where it wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
So they had to staple everything back in place, and I had this mesh wiring, and it was nasty. So it was a really long recovery. It was like 3 months in total, if not a bit longer. But roll around February, I'm like, I'm going on this cruise. I'm so excited. I'm going to go for my checkup before I go on the cruise. And I get to the hospital for my checkup. And this is like a Monday. And the woman was like, oh, so this is your pre-surgery admission. I was like, no, I've had surgery already. And she looked at my charts and she was like, no, this is your pre-surgery admission for your next surgery. And I was like, wait, I'm sorry, what? What next surgery?
Back
yeah,
up,
I was
what?
like, And so, like, the Thursday, I was supposed to be out of there flying to New Orleans for this cruise. And they were like, yeah, so you better speak to your surgeon, like, now. So they called myself and Duncan in. And as I said, I used to do off-road racing, enduro racing and stuff when I was younger. I had a really bad motorbike accident that basically crushed my whole left side, but it also shattered my pelvic bone. So my entire pelvis was cracked. And so I was told when I was like 14 years old that I would never have kids. I wouldn't be able to carry children, which was great because I didn't want any. But the doctor called me in and Duncan, and they said, look, when we were doing all your surgery, x-ray, blah, 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 we realized that your pelvis is basically like a jigsaw puzzle. So if you were to fall pregnant, you can die. We think it's best if you have a full hysterectomy. And I was like, well, hell, I'm not going to use it. Have it. Like, we don't want kids. We've never wanted kids. I'm just not child friendly in any way. And so they were like, great, okay, so we think it's great that you have this hysterectomy and that's it. Done deal. You'll heal from that. It'll be fine. And I looked at him and I was like, hey, so this isn't urgent. This isn't like life or death, right? I can go on this cruise and when I get back, I can have the surgery. He was like, you don't need to do this now. Moving forward, went on the cruise, had a great time, came back, went in for the surgery. While they were doing the hysterectomy, they found that the cancer had spread. They did miss the cells. And it had spread through my lymphatic system, up my para-aortic lymph nodes, up my spine. And that I needed chemotherapy and whatever else they could throw at it. It had spread quite a lot. So I'm laying in hospital after my second surgery thinking I've just had this hysterectomy, like whatever, don't need that. It's all good. I wake up with my surgeon next to the bed trying to tell me that we made a mistake. You have cancer. And she was stood there using all sorts of medical terms that I had no idea what she was talking about. I didn't understand a damn word of it.
Right.
And I looked at her and I said to her, listen, do you have a South African doctor in this hospital? Because we South Africans, I am South African, we are notoriously blunt and straightforward people. Like, I don't care if it's good news or bad news. I ain't going to sugarcoat it. You're getting it as is.
Right.
And so I said to her, go find the South African doctor. Tell them my results and get that person to come and tell me. So she did, because I wouldn't listen to her. I chased her out the room. I was really cranky and had just come out of surgery and in pain. And about half an hour later, there was a knock at the door. And the South African doctor poked his head into my room. And he said to me in Afrikaans, he was like, hey, the hell's the problem? And I looked at him and I said to him, cancer, yes or no? And he was like, yes. So I was like, okay, what do we do now? Like, I'm going to treat this like a really bad cold. Because if I go into this with the mindset like, oh my God, I've got cancer. Oh no.
Right.
I'm never coming out the other side.
Right.
And I'm really glad that I did that because I think it was that positive attitude that got me through it. I eventually sat down. They explained everything to me, and they were like, "This is a really aggressive type of cancer." I had a very rare type of cancer in my ovaries that basically there are only 4 other cases of it.
Wow.
And so there wasn't enough research from other cases to understand how to attack it. And so the doctors basically said to me, like, look, this is super aggressive. We don't know what to do. Just throwing it out there. We are going to throw everything we can at this. If it continues to spread the way it is, you have no more than 6 months. And hearing that, I was like, wow. Yeah, I mean, talk about putting everything in your life into perspective. Like,
Right.
That was the bombshell. You know, when they give you a time limit and you're just like, oh man. And he still said to me, the South African doctor was still like, hey, it's just like we think, we're estimating, we know nothing about this. So don't like take that to heart. Let's just throw everything we've got at this and see what happens. They sat me down for to discuss the chemo side of things with the oncologists and that, and the nurses and things, to understand what chemo I would be getting, the type of chemo, the side effects, etc. And then you have to sign a consent form to say that you agree to allow them to pump cytotoxic drugs into your system.
Right.
And I'm reading the whole list. There's like pages and pages and pages of side effects from chemotherapy and all the treatment. And right at the bottom, it's side effect, death. And I was just sat there like, okay. And they're like, okay, sign the dotted line.
Say, no, I don't agree to the last one.
Right?
I'll agree to everything else, but death, no, I can't do that.
It was really intense.
Yeah.
Anyway, obviously I signed the dotted line and we started doing all my treatments and everything. And I think what made it worse is at the time, my 12-year-old nephew had been diagnosed with lymphoma.
Oh.
And the day I started my chemo, the moment they put the needle in my arm, I got a phone call saying that my 12-year-old nephew had passed away. He lost his battle with cancer. And here I'm sitting the other side of the world, and I'm about to receive the same drugs.
Right.
That it made it really hard. You know, I couldn't be there for my family. I was sitting alone in the hospital because everybody else was dealing with everything else and receiving that first bit of chemo. And so for those who don't know, I am a psychic medium. Paranormal has been my life, my entire life. And I was sat there, and in that moment, I tried to tune in to my spirit guides or family or freaking anybody on the other side. Like, I felt so alone. And it was like my guides were like, all right, you need to focus on healing. So the other side is shut off. And they're busy dealing with the rest of your family right now. And so I was sat there, and there was just nothing. There was no one. And I was sitting in this hospital watching the chemo dripping, and I was just like, is this what normal people feel like? Like, this is so lonely. Like, right. You guys can't just tune into your buddies on the other side, you know, family or anything. And it was, I don't think I've ever felt more alone in my life than in that moment. Yeah, it was really hard. But then my chemo that I had to receive was over like 4 days. They had to keep me in before and after the chemotherapy. And I'd go in every couple of weeks for 4 days. And they changed my schedule slightly after the second week. Well, I think it was maybe the second week. And I woke up in the hospital and I heard somebody playing guitar. And I grabbed my IV drip. I named him Frank. Frank and I went for a walk. So I'm like wandering through the ward, and I came across this guy playing guitar. I also have to say that they they didn't put me in the regular ward for all ages. They put me in the kids ward because I was I was so upbeat about everything, and I used humor to counter everything.
Right.
And so they were like, "Wow, you're like the most positive and upbeat person ever. We're putting you in the young person's unit." So I did my chemotherapy in the children's ward
Right.
at like 30 years old, which was great. It was amazing. It was sad being surrounded by kids who were going
Right.
through something so horrific.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they were all so positive instead of, some 90-something-year-old man that is grouchy and grumpy. I was
Right.
with these kids who were so hopeful and just full of just their dreams and their future and everything. And I hear this guy playing guitar, and I went up to him and I was like, "Dude, what are you doing here?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm here every Tuesday. I volunteer to teach the kids how to play guitar and just entertain them and entertain the nurses and keep the mood uplifted on the
Right.
ward." And I was like, I went to the nurse and the head oncologist there, and I was like, "Change my dates. I need to be here on Tuesdays." And so, like, the day before my chemo started on a Wednesday, I would go in on the Tuesday and I would join up with everybody, all the kids, everybody in the ward. I'd grab one of the guitars and just spend the day teaching the kids how to play guitar and talking about music and like, what concerts do you want to see when you get out of hospital? When you
Right.
finished your chemo and you ring that bell and you are clear, like, what concerts do you want to go to? What instruments do you want to learn how to play? And so that's why I say music for me was like, it got me through. It got me through chemo. It got me through so much, not only the lyrics, but playing it and teaching it and anything to do with music. Just that got me through. But yeah, that's my story. A very long one.
But the thing is, like you said, you were diagnosed with this and they've told you had 6 months to live. I mean, to be told that you've got 6 months to live, I mean, that's got to be something
Yeah.
that just all of a sudden you sit back and you have a reality check on saying,
Yeah.
what is that?
100%.
Because I mean, every day we as human beings, we don't know how much time we have on this earth.
Yeah.
It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be an hour, it could be 40 years from now. But to physically hear from a doctor, you've got 6 months,
It's
has got to
intense.
be something else that and and I
You
think
know,
that's where people say, "Well, what's the sense of fighting because I've
yeah.
only got 6 months." But
A lot of
even
people
if
do
you
that.
did
They
have
lay
6
down and they like,
months
yeah.
even if you have 6 months, I would say make that the best 6 months of your life.
100%. 100%. One of the things that the nurses kept telling me was they couldn't believe how positive I was throughout it.
Right.
Anytime something went wrong, and oh boy, did it go wrong.
Yeah.
There were horrendous side effects. The nausea is, you can't even begin to explain how bad it is. What chemotherapy actually does to your body
Right.
is beyond horrendous. And so there were a lot of tears. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't all pretty.
Right.
I remember my hair with my long locks have always been my thing, and my hair was down to my waist. And right before my second session, they warned me. They were like, "You're going to lose all your hair." And I remember standing in the shower at home, and I was washing my hair, and I did that, and all the hair came out with it, and they were I was just stood there with handfuls of my hair. And it was like my world came crashing down. I remember just falling and collapsing on the shower floor and just sobbing and shouting for Duncan. And he came and he just sat there and he held me, and I was just a mess. I went from there to a hairdresser and I shaved my head completely because I was like, I can't deal with this.
Right.
I don't want to see it fall out like that.
Right.
And then I ended up looking like freaking Gollum from Lord of the Rings for 2 years of my life. But
but you probably still. I mean, look, Sinead O'Connor did it well.
right? Well, I mean, I was really happy that I
Right,
had a really good shaped head. Like,
right.
I didn't have any weird lumps or bumps anywhere. I was like, huh,
Uh,
I got a good
The,
noggin. We're good.
the positivity is like,
Right,
thank the Lord, I got
exactly.
a nicely shaped dome.
Exactly. I was like,
Uh,
whew, that's a good one. Um, but I try to turn everything into a positive. There were horrendous moments.
right,
Horrendous. I wouldn't change any of it.
right,
I wouldn't, because it made me who I am today.
right,
And being told that you have 6 months left and fighting every day, fighting and staying as positive as you can, fighting for that survival and to still be this side of a Ouija board for a little while longer, you know, it changes your outlook on how you deal with people and
right.
situations in life. Things that I would get so worked up about so quickly. Now I'm like, that's the least of my problems.
Yeah,
Or
I can't eat today. Don't worry about it.
like, eh.
Yeah,
So, and there's a lot of negativity in this world, and there's a lot of ugliness in the paranormal field. There's a
oh,
lot of
way too
more
much
more
ugliness.
yeah, there's a lot more bicker and bitchcraft than Wicca and witchcraft, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
And so at the time I was just like, I don't care. I don't care about who's fighting with who and who's got this rumor and who's I just don't care. Like,
right,
there are so many more important things in this world. And what I've just
right,
been through has put that all into perspective. I will say this, though, no matter what you are tackling in life, I don't care if you're just having a really crappy day or if you've had a fight with family or you're facing an illness or you're struggling to pay your bills, whatever, you lost your job, whatever you are facing in this life, I can guarantee 100%, 150% that with a positive attitude, no matter how hard it is for you to be positive, that will get you through every time, every
absolutely.
damn time. If I had gone into that whole situation with a negative attitude, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
And I think that goes for anything you face in life. Just tackle it with a positive outlook, and it'll be a
It,
lot easier. It'll seem a lot easier.
and that's so true. I mean, people who suffer from mental illness.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I know I'm one person that should not be here today. But that's a story for another day. This is not about me today. This is about your miraculous
I'm
journey.
glad you're still here.
And I'm very grateful. It just to put a little side note in there. This is funny because we did meet about 3 or 4 years ago, depending on how you look at the dates now.
Yeah.
Uh, and but when you were talking about being a speaker on that cruise, I'm pretty sure that was a cruise I was supposed to be on because Mike Hartman and Stephanie asked
Yes.
me to come down to be a part of that cruise, and
Oh
I
my god.
just could not make it down there. It was just not financially feasible for me at that time. So it's funny to
Wow.
think like I could have
We
met
was
you
that.
back in 2015 on a cruise because when they
Wow.
told me about this paranormal cruise, I'm like, that is a brilliant idea. Nothing better than being out in the middle of the ocean being told about ghost stories
Right?
and
It was
going, well, you can't run.
yeah. Where are you
So,
gonna go?
but no, I think that is so amazing how I was supposed to be on that cruise as well. And
Wow.
but I am so glad you are here today. I am so
Me
grateful that
too.
I get to know you and to get to enjoy everything that you do because, like I said, you are truly inspiring. The
Aw.
feat and to
So are
talk about the
you.
paranormal side just a little bit. I mean, as people ought to know, like when you watch a lot of these shows out there, they are male dominated. It's a
Mm-hmm.
male dominated industry. And
Yep.
here's MJ Dickson,
Holy
a Southern
moly.
belle from the UK who just takes the world by storm. And I mean, you just and I mean, you are a true inspiration to people to
Thank you.
go get what you want. And
Yeah,
another part of
just
my
do it.
show, another part of my show is I always find inspirational quotes, sayings, and whatnot. And I picked this out a couple days ago, not truly knowing everything you were going to talk about. But I'm going to read that
I
quote
have
right
one too.
now. So it says, "One day it will all be over. There are two dates on either side of the dash. Make sure that dash is not empty. Make sure it is full of life and full of living." Oscar Wilde once said, "To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist. That is all." And he was right. Don't live like everyone else existing. Be extraordinary. Live every moment with
Yeah.
passion and wonder. Do not take anything or anyone for granted. It is important to you what dreams you have and go get them.
You know what? There is a little quote that gets me through, and it's whatever your dream is, find that dream, write that shit down, and work on it every damn day. Every
That's right.
day. If it's a baby step, if you do one thing, one tiny thing a day towards achieving your dream, you'll get there. There's no
Absolutely.
point in going, oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. If cancer taught me something, it's go out there and bloody hell do it.
Right.
There's, if I may, if we have some
Yes.
time, I want to read
We
you a
have all
poem.
the time in the world. This is the M. Day Dickson hour, 2 hours, 10 hours. It is
I wish.
this is all about you. And I, but like I said, yes, please go do
I'm
this.
gonna I'm gonna find, because I can't remember it off the top of my head anymore. Honestly, I used to. I recited this every single day through chemotherapy. And so I want to share this with you. It is a poem by William Ernest Henley, and it's called Invictus. And it's out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloodied but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, nor how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And I repeated those words every damn day for 2 years. And I am the captain of my soul. I am the master of my fate. My head may be bloodied, but it is unbowed. And those words got me through everything, fighting the nausea, the side effects, the chemo, the everything else that was going on in my life. I mean, I couldn't be with my mom because she was going through surgery at the time for cancer. I just lost my 12-year-old nephew to cancer. My brother had just died. Like, life threw everything at us at once. My brother had a heart attack. I was diagnosed. My nephew was diagnosed. My nephew passed away. My mom was diagnosed in a really short space of time. So, you know, those words were what I held on to and I
Right.
repeated. And I shared them with the kids in the children's ward, and it helped a lot of them. Um, and there were like really big reality hit moments where one of the young girls, she was 19, um, and she was in the bed next to me in the ward receiving chemo. And so our schedules were around the same time. So I'd see her every couple of weeks. And we kept talking about, like, we're going to get through this. We're going to fight through this. And she didn't.
Right.
She, um, she didn't make it. And her parents asked me to sing at her funeral, and I couldn't go. I couldn't do it.
Right. Right.
There was no way. So, there were really hard times, and it was times like that where I turned to that poem, to music, to friends and family, to my support system. And quite honestly, my Sage tribe got me through way more than they'll ever know.
Right.
I may not be able to have kids, but I can promise you this: the Sage tribe are my children around the world. I care so deeply for everybody. And it's because of everybody's support.
Right.
Literally, the Sage tribe rallied when I went through chemo and that, and they supported me. They still support me. They are the most incredible, kindest bunch of human beings around the world. And I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support system that I had
Right.
and my husband. Like
Right.
my husband was my absolute rock and foundation, and
Yeah.
I love that man more than the air that I breathe. He is
And
literally my
it
everything.
just to say for people that have met Duncan and to see these two together, I mean, they are a Hallmark story. I mean, I've never seen
My
two
neighbor,
people,
the boy next
two
door.
more, two more people in love than these two. And you know what? In a life that is so ugly
Yeah,
and people who cannot deal with anything, like the divorce rate is like out
it's
of the
scary.
like beyond the chain because people do not know how to deal with problems with each
Oh
other.
my God, let alone dealing with like everything life throws at you,
Right.
and then having to deal with family passing
Right.
away in cancer, and then your wife is going through cancer. That my husband is a freaking saint. Like that man
Yeah.
has stuck by me for 20 years. 20 years. That's like half my life. It's scary. But he
But
is
I mean, like I said, he is an absolute sweetheart guy, and he is just like you. He is full of life. He's got so much
he is.
energy. He is so much fun to be around, and I mean, I could see why you two. I mean, when the universe put you guys together, they knew
He's my
exactly what they were
bestie.
doing.
He
It's
literally
like
is my
almost
best friend.
marrying yourself, but the opposite sex.
Right? It's so scary. We're
Uh,
very similar.
but so yeah, you know, I am so grateful you're here today. I am so glad that you did not give in and let the C word control you like so many people do. Your story about coming through the other side and all the challenges that life has thrown at you and everything you've been through. You are an inspiration not only to myself, but people that are going through cancer right now. Like she
Don't give
says,
up.
don't
Kick its
don't
ass.
give up.
Kick
Yeah,
its ass.
just put your foot down and say you don't own it. It does not own you.
Yeah,
You own it,
100%.
and you will come out on the other side. We have so many close friends to us right now who are dealing with cancer. Andrea Perrin, Chris Fleming, Tim Ria, and of
Really?
course Shaylee Class, a beautiful 13-year-old girl right now
Oh,
who is
Jesus
kicking
Christ.
cancer's ass. You know what? Every day, folks, say a little prayer for everybody in the world that is going through cancer and know that your positive energy will lift them up. Uh,
Okay, I'm crying on your show. Ah!
uh,
It's just
uh,
I feel for our friends in this field.
yes,
Andrea, Chris, Shaylee, everybody that
yes.
is who's going through it or their family are going through it right now. I feel so much for them. But you know what? They got this. They got this. They're gonna kick
Oh,
ass. Um,
100%. I love watching Chris's
yeah,
posts that he does every few days from the hospital. I mean, he's just like you. He's lifted up. He knows he's got a long road, but at the same time, he knows he's got a lot of love and support, not only in this
100%.
field, but people that know Chris. He is an
Yeah,
amazing guy.
he's
He is
wonderful.
he is
He's so
yeah
lovely.
he is, and I'm so grateful that I got to meet him. It was only the one
Me
time,
too.
but you know what? That one time made an impact on how just kind and generous he truly is.
100%.
and truly remarkable guy.
You know,
So yeah,
and
and
like
Andrea's the
Shaylee,
same way.
Andrea's
Andrea,
the Andrea's an absolute damn sweetheart, and she's got so
yes,
much love and support. And we know she's going to kick its ass. We've got Shaylee, who's doing so well. Like
yes,
watching her progress, and
yes,
and and I know, you know, with Dan and them, I know how hard it is for a parent to lose a child or
right,
to see their child go through that, because our family did. Um, and I you're not going to lose her. She's such a fighter, and she's
oh
so
no,
positive, and she's so damn strong. And you keep doing it, Shaylee. You keep kicking
yeah.
ass, girl.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Every day we are praying.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, just go over to the GoFundMe page, donate, help out Shaylee, or go over to rescuedogs.com. That's DAWGZ. We have Shaylee T-shirts that are up there for sale that all go 100% of the, even the Paranormal Voice T-shirts go 100% right to Shaylee, and we are gonna fight with her, Chris, Andrea, Tim,
All of them.
everybody,
We're
anybody.
standing behind all of them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just know we are all saying a prayer for you daily. Uh, MJ, before I let you go, I want to give you this opportunity to talk about everything you've got going on. Your books, your brand new show that's
In
coming
an
out.
hour
That you,
of
uh,
everything.
just I know like I said, you do not I get exhausted just listening to everything you're doing. When I go, wow, my plate is full, I'm like, no, I've got a portion of a plate of what MJ does in this lifetime.
This
But
is
this is
just
who
this,
you are, and
yes,
you are a definite go getter. You
yes.
like your brain must never shut down, and this is
Nope.
why when I look at Duncan and I'm like,
You know what,
dude,
Matt? I don't know. He keeps me really grounded. But now I've dragged him into doing a show with me. So
yeah.
so we are filming tomorrow. Yay!
Yay!
Where Duncan and I are filming the next episode of our new show. It's called Food, Booze, and Booze. So it's a haunted travel show. It's on our YouTube, and we are exploring all around the world. So we pick a town or an area, we find a haunted place to stay, stuff to do in the area, distilleries, breweries, anything to do with booze, food, like really good food. We speak to chefs, restaurant owners, you know,
Right.
just any good food that we can find, whether it's farm stalls, whether it's a restaurant, whatever. I don't care what it is. If there's good food, I'm in. And then we try and find places that have some sort of a haunting as well. And we do an investigation. So we've just released the pilot episode, was very roughly filmed. It's on YouTube. You can find it at In Search of the Paranormal with MJ.
And I did link your YouTube channel in the
Thank
description just
you.
so that people can find this. Like I
Thank you
said,
so
it
much.
was, yeah, it's truly it's something that it's been an idea that I've heard about for a long time, and I'm so glad that you are out there doing it.
You know, so many people. I mean, I host paranormal holidays. I do holidays in New Orleans and the UK. I like taking people on these 10-day paranormal holidays to explore and investigate and stay in these haunted locations and things. And so many people are like, oh man, I wish I could go. I wish I could see these things. You know,
Right.
financially, not everybody's able to do that. You know, some people are
Right.
struggling. And so a lot of them have said to me, like, oh, I wish we could just see everywhere that you go, to be a fly on the wall. And I was like, okay, I'll show you. So, you know, we set out to film this ourselves, and it's a learning curve. You know, I have a husband who's never been on screen at all, who isn't into the paranormal at all, and so now I've dragged him into investigating. He is the general manager of a restaurant. I mean,
Right.
he's worked in hospitality for over 20 years. So did I. I grew up in restaurants and hospitality, and so he is still very much the food and the booze, whereas I'm the paranormal, the booze.
Right.
And so it's just a really nice blend, and it's just a fun project to do together.
Absolutely. You know what? And that's the amazing part is that now you guys get to create something together.
Yes, it's
And
both of
and
our
and
passions.
yes, you know,
Yeah.
and you're bringing both passions together. Like I said, who does not like food? And with Duncan being in that industry,
Yeah,
I mean, it just makes perfect sense.
it's super
Uh,
fun.
yeah,
So
and
you
I
will
mean the first episode, I love it. I've watched it about at least 3 times because I just I mean, watching Duncan on screen, I just love
he
it
was
because
he was so awkward, and then he kind of like he got
yeah, he
into it.
got into it before the end of the show. He was like, I
He
could
was
do
like, I got
this.
this. It's
Watch out,
brilliant,
MJ. He's going to be the next paranormal sensation.
right? So
uh,
we're
but no,
doing that.
I'm so glad. I look forward to more episodes and seeing where you guys travel to next. Uh, you got your Patreon page, which
Yes.
I mean,
Which I'm
it's
catching up posts at the moment. I'm sorry. I've been away for the last 10 days. Really, really sick. What is that? 10 days now. Since Halloween. I got
yeah,
really, really sick. Halloween, I was like, oh, I've got a bit of a tickle in my throat. Oh my god, the day after our investigation, I thought I
right.
was dying. Like, I mean, and I've been through everything. But I've just got this awful cold, well, flu that's going
Yeah,
around here. So I've been in bed for a week.
yeah.
I'm only just surfacing, and that's because I wanted to do this show, and
And I
I got
appreciate
filming,
you
and
coming back from the brink of death to do this show.
right
I mean,
next time,
but
like when I do eventually pass away, Ouija board it.
a Ouija board a show, that'll be it.
Ouija board, I will be there.
But you also have 2 amazing books that you have personally written. The first one is It's Never Say Goodbye, but no,
Never goodbye, only good night.
Only
Yes.
Good Night, and Supernatural Africa, which is
Yes.
all about you going back home and exploring
Yeah.
your home turf, like where you grew up. I
Yeah.
mean,
Zimbabwe,
both
South Africa.
books truly amazing. I love them
Thank
both.
you.
Please tell everybody where you can get these books
There
and
are
how to get connected to your Patreon page.
okay. So my books are available on Amazon. They will be. We're changing distribution for the books, so they are on Amazon at the moment. It's Never Goodbye, Only Good Night, and Beneath the African Sky, Supernatural Africa. So if you look for me, I'm there. I got my author's page. You'll find my books. You can find more information on my website, which is scrolling down below. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much for that. And then Patreon, it's patreon.com/MJ Dickson. And yeah, we've got all sorts going on there. There's blogs, videos. I'm busy with my annual Patreon maintenance at the moment. So I sift through and I delete all the posts that no one, there's not really content. It's just like
Right.
us chatting or updating about a certain thing. I kind of remove all of those posts
Right.
because when you look at my Patreon page and it says 300 and something posts or videos, that is like 300 blogs, videos. That's content, not like, oh, hey guys, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
You know, so I remove all the stuff in between and clean it up and upload a bunch of new stuff once I've cleaned all the old stuff off. So Patreon is under maintenance. You can still join. There's over 100 hours of video footage on there, paranormal shows that I filmed. Food, Booze, and Booze is on there as well. There's lectures, there's workshops, there's blogs, there's paranormal investigation videos. I actually just posted on YouTube. I just posted a video where I spent a night alone in an 11-bedroom haunted inn, and some of the EVPs and spirit box were so unbelievable.
Wow.
But I've just posted that. It's about an hour worth of footage from that investigation. And that was actually one of my Patreon investigations that I had done. So I wasn't intending on releasing that outside of Patreon. And I thought, you know what? I got a lot of other investigations and things that I'm putting up on Patreon. So I'm going to share that one on YouTube so you can check out some of my investigating as well.
And just before I let you go, we have to talk about your amazing event that is coming up at the Belgrove Plantation in
September next year.
King George,
Yes.
Virginia. It is so you have your own paranormal event
Yes,
that
Sage
comes to
Paracon.
you to come to. Well, it's in the United States, not in Canada, but we'll work on that someday.
I mean, any
um,
accounts, UK, US, Canada, I'm getting
yeah,
there.
yeah. But it's I've had the distinct pleasure of being there for the last 2 years, and I really hope I can make it again this year
How do I?
or next year now. Yeah, we're still in
Next year.
2024, 2025. I really hope I can make it. Uh, Another amazing way to get to spend a weekend. It is 3 days at one of the most amazing locations I have
Beautiful.
ever had the pleasure of being at.
Yeah.
Your event is relatively small and you like
About
it and
50
keep it
people.
that way. And
Yep.
there's a really good reason for it that it is such a fun
It's a
filled
family.
weekend.
Yeah.
It's it's not just a Paracon as people know it. It
No.
is an information weekend where yes, you get to know all the speakers that are there, but
But we're there to
also
teach you.
everybody's there and you will walk away learning something
Yeah,
about everybody.
there's talks all weekend, but we also do each speaker does a workshop as well, and the workshops are included in the ticket price. So you have all the talks, all the workshops for the weekend. We do a paranormal investigation of Belgrove Plantation. We have a Friday night meet and greet where we play a damn awful game show getting to know our speakers. It's an
That's
absolute
awesome. I love that. That is
it's a
so
mess,
cool.
but it
I'm the
is
worst at it.
hilarious.
Last 2 years, I have totally sucked at it.
It's not
But that's
everybody
okay.
sucks at it.
But
It
you know
is
what?
the
It
worst
really it's a
episode.
fun way of getting to know the people who you are
Yes,
that that
100%.
is that you're going to be around.
Yeah, yeah, it does break the ice, and
Yes.
it is a fantastic start to the weekend. And then every Sunday night we do a mystery night, so we never know what we're doing. We're always just like, okay, we're gonna do like a murder mystery escape room, and then what did we do last year? We did the um the portal to the other side,
Yes.
like the upside down kind of portal to the other side escape
Yeah, it was
room.
like find all the clues on how to get
Oh, you had to make a potion, which was a
yes.
cocktail.
Yeah.
You had to find the ingredients to make the
Yeah.
potion, which was a cocktail, to be able to open the portal to bring someone back through the portal that was trapped
Right.
on the other side. Yes, that was a lot of fun. That was
That
really
that
cool.
was like a lot of fun. And like I said, it is an amazing weekend. So that is Sage Paracon. You can probably find all the information right there on MJ Dickson's website
Yes.
for
Or you can go to
tickets.
stageparacon.co.uk.
Yes.
And that's got the UK convention, the US convention, all the information, the speakers, the tickets, everything.
So, yeah. So if you want to spend an amazing weekend hanging out with amazing people, and it is one of those events. If you've never been around the Sage Tribe before, you will walk away with a lot more friends and family and really
We're a positive
amazing
bunch of
people.
weirdos.
Yes.
Very, very uplifting, very supportive. And you know what? Last year, prime example, last year we had people that came to Sage Paracon on their own. Kenny, this is going out to you, boy. So Kenny turned up at our convention. He had heard about it. I think his sister bought him a ticket. He had no idea. He'd never met anybody. And he hadn't even got from the car park to the event before the Sage Tribe were like, hey, who you? Okay, you're our friend now. Like, that was it. He was adopted. He barely got out of the vehicle. And they were already like, oh, you're new. Come, we're friends. Let's go do something. So we are just the most welcoming bunch of weirdos.
Absolutely.
So if you think you're going to have a quiet weekend to yourself sitting in the corner listening to talks, it's not how we do it. We drag everybody, we get them involved in the workshops, involved in the talks. It is super fun. Come join us at Sage Paracon, Virginia, 20 something of September. I can't remember. Is it 26th to the 28th of September? Yes.
Something like that.
It's the end of September next year. Still a long way away. The only thing I'm focusing on is that it is also my 40th birthday celebration.
Oh my God, the big 4-0.
Yeah.
And
And
she
I'm with
still
you,
looks like she's
weirdo.
21, people.
And 21. I act like a 12-year-old most of the time, so we're good.
But
Um,
that
but no,
that's the lovable part about you.
I'm just full of nonsense and young at heart.
You know,
But yeah,
age
we
is just a
celebrate.
number. It's not. It doesn't define you. It's just a number.
Very true. Very, very true. Since I
But
was in the children's ward.
but MJ, once again, I want to thank you
Dale,
so much for sharing such a personal part of your story.
thank you for
So
having
many
me.
people who know you and love you from the paranormal side. It's such a, and it's so much, and this show is about stripping that all away and to talk about something that
People,
has been
the inspiration.
the inspiration behind a story, behind what it is that people can bounce back from. You, like you said it best, you can bounce back from
I'm gonna
anything.
sneeze.
All you have to do is have that positive attitude in order to do it.
Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. I'm so sorry. Oh,
So, with that being said, I want to thank everybody who is tuned in today.
hi,
Thank you so
Daniel.
much for the debut Seeking Vibes podcast. I appreciate everybody. Please hit like, subscribe, share this video out. Go follow MJ on all of her social medias. See what she's doing. See what she's up to. I highly recommend her books. I love her
Oh,
books. And most of
thank you.
all, if you can, and if you're close by, make it to a Sage Paracon event because I'll tell you, it is such an amazing weekend. I have so much fun each and every time I head down there with the paranormal voice, cover the whole weekend, talking to people. It is so much fun and getting to know everybody. So,
Dale,
myself, I will be back shortly. My next guest, I will be making that announcement very soon, but I'll tell you, it is such a thrill to be able to interview my next guest, and everybody will be like, his story is another one that is truly inspirational to me. But
can't wait.
I'm going to leave that for another time. But MJ, once again, I love you. I miss you. Please
I
stay
love you
safe.
so much. You are amazing. You inspire me. This show is going to be incredible. You keep doing you. You know what?
I
I'm just
thank
so
you.
grateful that you're a part of the Sage Tribe, and I love you. Thank you for
I'm
having
just
me.
so grateful that the MI Paracon once again brought another amazing person into my life. And I say this over and over again: people do not come into your life by accident; they come
Nope.
here for a reason, and it is that is the reason why MJ Dickson is a big part of my life and makes me inspired to do this type of show because I see what she does and what inspires her, which inspires me. And I hope this show inspires other people to go out there, follow your dream. Do not let anybody ever tell you you can't do something. Follow
I
your
mean, unless it's
passion.
like highly illegal, then you probably shouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
Other
No,
than
stay.
that.
No, if your passion is on the illegal side, yeah, then you're on your own. But folks, MJ, once again, like I said,
Thank you,
thank you
my
so
love.
much. I love you.
Take care,
Please give
everybody.
Duncan a big hug for us.
I will. I
And
will.
I will see everybody on the flip side. For those that are watching, I do have the Paranormal Voice will be going live tonight at 8 p.m. We have She Squatchers, an all female cryptid
Oh,
group from Minnesota. We met these
yeah,
ladies up at
girl.
the UFO Contact Convention. Super ladies, we are going to be interviewing them tonight
Amazing.
live on the the Paranormal Voice YouTube
You're
channel.
going to get confused between the two now.
Well, yeah, but
Because
you know what? My life has been so blessed, and the opportunities. I'm truly grateful that I get the opportunities to do what I'm doing. So, folks, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. MJ, be safe,
Bye,
and
my
we will
love.
see you
Bye,
very soon.
everybody.
In the meantime, and in between time, I almost said the paranormal voice ending. Remember, tomorrow needs you.